Hey, Rich Sheffrin here with another Steal Our Winner segment, and this one is with the infamous marketer Todd Brown, a close friend of mine, also really one of the experts out there on building funnels, client acquisition, customer acquisition online today, as well as really someone who pushes the envelope on a daily basis as to new ways to market online. And so I'm really excited about this time together. Todd Brown, welcome.
What's up, my man? It's been way too long that since we've recorded a video like this, a
Yeah,
training like this. I miss these, man. We definitely need to do more of these, even if they never get shared anywhere. I know that some gems will come up. So, there's something, can I roll? Right? Is this
yeah,
cool? Yeah, man.
dive right in.
So there's something that, one of the most valuable things that I think that I could share for your tribe, for your
Mhm.
subscribers, is something that I've been talking to our highest level clients about. And it's this idea of what I call the golden ratio. And I'll talk about what the golden ratio is in a second. For so many years, man, going back, the game was all about sales conversions. Every marketer online talked about sales conversions. They would post it on social media. I'm getting X amount of, I'm getting a 8% sales conversion rate. I'm getting a 10% sales conversion rate, a 3%, whatever it may be. And I've seen this massive shift in my most successful clients shifting from a mindset of sales conversions to a focus on average order value. Average order
Okay,
value and cost per acquisition are the two sides of the golden ratio. When it comes down to investing in traffic and acquiring new customers, right? We know that it's a game of financial exchange, right? It's a game of I put a dollar out and how much do I get back? In this context, that dollar out is the CPA. What does it cost to acquire a customer? And the money back is your average order value. And we're really seeing more and more that, as it's becoming tougher for direct response marketers to leverage platforms, advertising platforms like Facebook and like Google, we're having to make our copy more compliant. And as we're making our copy more compliant, it's weakening the copy. And so we're seeing, a decrease in conversion rates. And that decrease in conversion rates is increasing our cost per acquisition, right? So we're seeing
sure.
our cost per acquisition go up. And so this whole shift, this whole game has really shifted to focusing on increasing average order value, focusing less on look, man, you can decrease cost per acquisition. You can decrease CPA by increasing your conversions, but that is much more difficult than increasing your AOV enough to match that CPA so that you can afford traffic. It's much easier to focus on AOV, to increase AOV enough to match CPA so that you can afford to acquire customers for free than it is to focus on lowering CPA through increased conversions. Does that make sense, man? Like, I know that I'm
Yeah,
probably so
yeah.
close to this that I
No,
hope
that
that
makes
I'm
sense.
articulating.
Yeah,
And so the point is, look, at the end of the day, this is one of the big, if this hasn't become apparent already, look, at the end of the day, I don't really care what my sales conversion rate is. I don't care whether it's a 2% sales conversion rate or a 10% sales conversion rate. The reality is that I could have a 10% sales conversion rate and be losing money because my cost per acquisition is through the roof and my AOV is in the toilet. And so regardless of whether I have a 10% sales conversion rate or I have a 0.5% sales conversion rate, at the end of the day, I don't really care what that number is. That number, sales conversion rate, is more of an optimization metric for us. We use it as a way to identify what's the weak link in the marketing campaign. Is that weak link the sales conversion rate? But from a viability perspective, all we care about is that golden ratio, is what's our CPA and what's our AOV, right? And ideally for our clients, we tell them, at a bare minimum, you should operate at break even, 1-to-1 CPA to AOV. If you got a 1-to-1, regardless of what your sales conversion rate is, you're acquiring customers for free. You're building the single most valuable asset in your business for free. And so, I've seen this shift in look, CPAs are going up because of cost of media, because our conversions are going down, all that jazz. And so there's so much more leverage in AOV, which brings me to the second principle. And I this is something that you've talked about for, in some shape or form, for many, many years. But so when we're talking about AOV, we're talking about things like the bump offer on the order form. We're talking about upsells, downsells, those sort of things. And when it comes to looking at your upsell, looking at your bump, looking at your downsell, what we are ultimately looking for is what we call AOV contribution. I don't care, again, what the conversion rate is on an upsell. What I do care about is how much money, dollars and cents, does that upsell contribute to AOV. And so sometimes, right, by increasing the price, you may decrease the conversion rate, the take rate, but if you're increasing the AOV contribution, the amount of money that's being contributed to AOV, then I'm going to roll with it. I'm looking for, when it comes to the upsell, when it comes to the downsell, when it comes to the bump offer, when it comes to those things, I'm looking for the offers that contribute the most amount to AOV, not necessarily the ones that have the highest conversion rate. So two things, man, right? So number one, we're focusing more and more of our attention on increasing AOV and a lot less on trying to increase sales conversion rate to get that ratio. Like, we're really manipulating that ratio through the AOV side, and we are focusing on what has the greatest contribution to AOV, not what is generating the highest sales conversion rate. And that's just what has allowed us and clients to continue to scale with paid traffic on the front end. And so
Gotcha. And so, yeah, so really, so conversion rate really is a cost per acquisition number at the end of the day. Yep. And an average order value, or is, the other side of the equation, as far as cart value goes. And so recognizing, I guess, that there's less that can be done on the conversion rate side and therefore the cost per acquisition side, because of the platforms, the rules, the this, the that, therefore the average order value is where you have more play. Is there, where do you have I don't know, a checklist, or, not necessarily a written one, in your head maybe, of what you look at as far as then average order value? And I think that before you even go there, just to highlight what you were talking about as far as contribution to average order value, I do it the same way. And it's basically looking at the price point and the conversion rate of each page in an upsell process, and determining, what per eyeball, what does this contribute? And is it paying for the real estate? We have something that's going on really well that I'll share with you as we wrap this up. But curious as to, since you spend a lot of time in this area, do you look here first, then here second, then here third, or is it more dynamic than that?
Yeah, so great questions, man. Awesome questions. So a couple things really quick regarding what you said at the very beginning. So one other thing to consider when looking at look, it's a ratio. So you could bring CPA down, you could bring AOV up, right? But the thing is that on the CPA side, first of all, you're dealing with prospects, meaning, right, you have to impact that number through converting more prospects. On the AOV side, you're talking about customers. A lot easier to move customers than it is to move prospects. The other thing is that on the CPA side, there's a limit to what you can only bring it down to zero, right? And so there's a limit of how much you can impact that number. On the AOV side, there's unlimited upside. And so with that being said, so there's a couple things. So typically, and this is going to vary for everybody based on the price point of their core front end offer. But typically what we're looking for is, we are looking for about 60% of our average order value to come from the additional offers. So 60%. So if we've got, if we're selling a $40 product, call it our core offer, that's bringing folks to the order form, we're looking for about $100 AOV with 60% of that coming from the bump, the upsell, the downsell. And I would say that without question, the lion's share, obviously, of the AOV increase is going to come from the bump and upsell one. Those are the two bad boys that we put the most amount of emphasis on. You know, like our second upsell or our downsell is kind of like just gravy. That's how we kind of treat it, right, wrong, or indifferent. Number one, I think it goes without saying, and you and I have talked about this before. Half of the stuff that I share, I'm sure I stole from you anyway. But you know, I think it's absurd to have a front end offer that does not have a bump. I mean, you know, a garbage bump offer is gonna produce more money. You're leaving money on the table if you don't have a bump, because there's always there's always 5, 10, 12% of people that just want more if they were offered more. And so how we price the bump offer really varies significantly based on the price of our core offer. I'm a big fan of getting it as close to an impulse buy, the typical checkout item at the grocery store kind of offer. And the only other thing that I'll say that hopefully will help folks is like, look, you got to put together sick offers. Like you got to put together, great offers. Like on my whiteboard, the whiteboard to the right of my desk, there's one thing that's been written, that's been on that board for years at this point. Everything else has been erased and rewritten but this thing in the corner of my whiteboard says, focus on crafting killer offers. And so when I think about that upsell, and this is something that I talk about often, right? It's not about like what you have in stock or what's on your hard drive or, hey, what can we get rid of? Or it's what would drive these people wild? What could we offer them that's the next piece of their journey, that is the next step for them on their path? But what offer could we put together that would drive them freaking wild? And that's how we think about it. And again, we're looking for 60% of our AOV to come from our, bump, upsell, and the lion's share of that comes from bump and upsell one.
Gotcha.
Make sense, man?
And so when any tips for someone who is currently kind of building out their upsell path, they have their core offer, what should they be thinking about as it relates to their bump, upsell one, upsell two?
Yeah. So I would say for upsell one, for the first upsell, number one, you don't want to offer anything that will make the new customer feel like what they just bought was incomplete. You want to make sure that you give them the warm and fuzzies, that you let them know that, great, you've got everything you need now for XYZ. What I would tell you to do, focus on either helping them to get faster results, or making the whatever they're buying, whatever reason why they bought that core product, either faster results or easier results. Or the one that I love is just thinking through, what is it that this person would need or want next, right? So if you're selling them on how to set up their website and get their website up and running, I have this client that teaches WordPress, everything from A to Z. You get your site up, domain, plugins, all that jazz. Well, I said, what's the next thing? Traffic. Okay, traffic. And then after traffic, maybe conversions, maybe lead generation. And so think about, what is it that this person would need or want next, and put together an over-the-top offer. Like put together an offer that makes it more difficult for these people to say no to than to say yes to. As it relates to the bump offer, we approach the bump offer a little different. And the bump offer is typically like an extension of the core offer. So you see this often with books, where somebody's buying a book and now the bump offer is the audio. The bump offer could be the unpublished chapter. It could be my private notes on this book. It could be an interview with the author. It's more of an extension. It's giving them more of the core offer, what they're getting with the core offer, whereas the upsell is typically what they would need or want next in the journey. Does that help, man?
Sure. Yeah, that definitely helps.
Pretty straightforward. Look, man, I really think this, dude, like, let me say this, man. I think a lot of this, folks need to get out of their own way a little bit, right? Because none of this is like, none of this is rocket science, but it is thinking about what offer can I put together? What offer can I put together that makes this a total no-brainer? You and I have talked about things like, you know, the credit offer, like
Right.
where like I'm going to give you full credit on what you just bought, like, and apply it to like those type of offers where it's much less about the product and much more about how good is this offer that makes it just like, why wouldn't I do it? That's where folks need to spend the majority of their attention when it comes to boosting AOV, man.
Gotcha. And like I've always kind of taken the rule of thought that you want to shoot for 2 no's. Do you kind of subscribe to that, or is there a different
Yeah,
one?
that's a great, it's people ask all the time, like, well, how many upsells, you know, is too many? And I really think like, look, man, first of all, first and foremost, if somebody's saying yes to you, like, and you're not burying, like, you know, you're not doing anything shady. Like if somebody's saying yes to you, like, I love this, I want more, well, give them the opportunity to get more
Sure.
value from you. The reality is this, that for the person that wants more, if you don't give it to them, they're going somewhere else to get it, right? And so you might as well give it to them. But don't treat everybody the same, right? Like today we've got technology, like we've got all these tools that we can use where somebody says no to you twice, take them out of the upsell path. Don't hammer them. Don't be a knucklehead. Take them out and, you know, and end that transaction path. The other thing too is that we've got the ability, and we've been doing this for years now, to go back and make second chance offers. Like we're 48 hours later, like it's a beautiful thing today, man, because you could go
Yeah.
back 48 hours later, you give them a second chance to get that offer that they skipped. And I know you've talked about this before, and you're, you know, obviously a pro with this, like, but with one-click stuff, they don't need to enter their credit card anymore. Like you just let them know we're going to add X, Y, Z
Yeah.
to your order, and it's great. You make the process have such little friction. And so, yeah, but 2 no's, take them out of the follow-up path for the upsells and make them put a smile on their face, man. And then circle back 48 hours later and give them a second chance to get it.
Yeah, especially if you don't say, you know, you add urgency, but you don't say this is the only time you're going to see this offer, so you don't seem like a liar. The just a we'll make this video even more real. So on the registration process for the live stream, where between like 15 and 20% on the first upsell, right? Like where people are either $1 or $19 based on whether they're VIP or VIP plus, and it's like 95% are VIP plus. But then it's held steady. 75% are taking the mystery box. So that's an insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so that's a, you know, a contribution of like $21. You know, so it's well,
Folks
I
don't
thought it was going to
realize
go down by now, but it hasn't got down
they
yet.
have
So
to
it's,
realize like a $21 like contribution to AOV is could be game changing. Like is game
especially on a free lead gen on front. Yeah.
crazy. Crazy. Which, by the way, as a total aside, the video of with the faces changing is off the charts, man. I absolutely love it. The funniest thing, I gotta say this, whether this ends up in the thing or not. So I go to the page and it's, you know, the video's paused or whatever, and it's paused on like I don't know whose face. And I'm like, that does not look like Rich at all. Like, what is it? And I absolutely loved it. I passed it around to my whole team. I'm like, absolutely freaking loved it, man. It was so good, dude. Crazy, man. Crazy, crazy.
Awesome, man. Well, you are definitely going to be a fixture in Steal Our Winners. So we will make sure to do many of these segments together. But until then, see you soon, Todd.